Okay, so even though it's a simple piece, I did want to just quickly go over how I did the foam roller. Yes, it's just a cylinder, let's be honest. But in the spirit of this series, I did say I would show you how I did each thing. So here you can see me, creating a cylinder and beveling the top. And I'm just putting in the divisions that I want, making sure the bevel isn't too big. I'm constantly checking the reference. So that part there is the inset piece that you can see on the right. I'm just making that part very simple again. I think looking back, I could have made it a bit wider so you can see it from far. But other than that, I'm pretty happy. So I'm going to cut it there for the UV seam and then straighten them out. And yes, that's essentially the end of it, right? I'm going to name it and I'm going to check the length as well. So I'm just naming it there because I want to create two versions of it. So there's a long one and a short one, the one for your back and the one for your whole body or something. Yes, I'm not an expert, but I made sure to redo the UVs as well. So that's, you should keep that in mind to reduce stretching. But anyway, that's all there is to it for the foam roller. So I'm saving that out, putting that one side, and then I'm going to start on the yoga mat. So again, I have the reference there and the size, very important. And I had tried one or two ways to do it, but I landed on using a cube, adding a bunch of divisions, and then using a deformer to roll it into shape. I got this idea from looking around online, and and it gave me that idea. There are a lot of tutorials on bending cubes and using deformers in Maya, so I wish I could remember the tutorial, trust me, but I can't. But anyway, the bend deformer is quite straightforward, so you just need to tweak the high bone, low bones, and especially the curvature in this case. So I'm continuing to tweak some of these settings while I look at a different reference. And these are the settings of the bend deformer. So I'm at first trying to get it to line up, but I just want it snug enough that it kind of touches. And I'm keeping the model in a low poly state so it's a bit easier to edit, but I am previewing it constantly in the smooth mesh mode. So this will help me to know what it's going to look like later when I do add divisions, because I will smooth it later. So it's good to work like this, a lot easier, so you get the best of both worlds. So here I'm just, testing, checking to see, adding some variety, tapering in the inner tip, I guess, for lack of a better word. And I'm looking at the curve, the outer curve, just adjusting the settings, seeing how it works. I think it looks just about right, more or less, but a little tweaking never hurts, okay? So if it's your process, you can always just edit what you see fit. So here I'm choosing random areas, I'm pulling them out and pushing them so that it has a sense of unkeptness. Like in reality, you're not going to fold it perfectly, especially not in a shared gym, right? So I just took a moment to name it. It's just one mesh. And then I'm going to add the divisions I was talking about, right? So I ran a general smooth, and then I'm going to remove the excessive divisions I don't want. I did it this way so that I can maintain the smooth interpolation instead of having to add that myself and just remove the extra divisions. So here I'm going to remove some edge loops from the middle of the curve and then run edge flow to make sure they're in the center. It's so that it matches up with the outer rings, roughly having a similar level of detail, I guess, going around the whole spiral. Yes, that's the word. So I'm removing some of the unnecessary bevels as well, and just giving it a general pass. Like, is it too much polys? Is it not? I think I'm pretty generally happy with this. So I'm just adjusting some of the bevels there, but I think that's good. So I'm gonna move on to the straps, and here I'm setting out what I think is roughly the correct width, but I did create a cylinder kind of to help me to visualize it, I guess. And you can see it was just a little too small, so got rid of that. And here you'll see me split the yoga mat off, and that's so that I can separate it into two pieces, so I can work on half and then copy it over. So you just want to select the spiral, the outer part of the spiral, to create that canyon or that dip where the strap is going to sit. And then, usual technique, duplicate it and make it a separate object. And now I have a strap that perfectly is touching the outside of the yoga mat. Perfect. So it just requires a little bit of adjustment, and yeah, so this strap is perfectly touching the mat, and now I'm just going to use soft select to push it in where it's being interacted with the strap. This will add a level of realism that is needed for something that is soft, like a yoga mat. It's not like super soft, but there is a level of pliableness to the yoga mat. So you want to show that it is subtle, but as you can see, it really makes a difference. So I duplicated that and I stitched it back to the other side. Now, the reason I cut it off is because I offset the faces, if you remember. So I wanted to keep that. Anyway, so I've spaced it closer to the edge, just like the reference. And yeah, so we're gonna carry on creating the top part of the strap. As you can see, I copied the strap as usual. Try to reuse as much as you can, and I'm going to basically just take that end piece and extrude to victory. So I'm loosely watching the reference there I have on the side. I'm not trying to clone it, just trying to get the essence of how the strap would flow. And here I'm making sure it really hugs the yoga mat so you can feel that tension. This part is where the strap, I guess, is stitched onto the other side. And I wanted to represent this in mesh form, not just texture, because you will notice the difference. So I'm creating my own bevel there and then indenting it so that, again, that interaction with the materials makes it feel a lot more realistic, a lot more grounded in reality, I guess. So I'm just offsetting it. Make sure to look at the model from different angles, because the fabric that is used for the strap is a little stiff, but it's also a little soft. So you want it to rest kind of realistically. As you can see here, I did mirror the strap, but that's just to get the interaction correct. And then I rotated the place where it stitches so that it gives a level of asymmetry. So if you can see the different angles, you can tell that it's starting to look a bit more natural because I'm adjusting it from each angle. So if something like this is being rest on the ground or something, a different corner of it will lay flat and then it may be rotated a little. I think you get the idea. So I'm pretty happy with the strap, at least the default strap. And I'm just gonna loosen up those divisions, make sure it looks good, and duplicate it, because I would like to make a variation to the strap. And as you can see in the reference, I noticed that twist and I really liked it. So here I am trying to incorporate that twist in here. And looking back, there's so many ways I would have done this. There's so many ways I would have done this so much faster and so much more efficient. But I left this in here so you can see that, you know, like when people make all of these cool environments and all these cool things, you know, you just see the end result. You see perfection, or what you think is perfection, and you don't know. Like, I'm not calling this environment perfection, of course, but I just mean you don't know what all the struggles and the painful testing that they went through. So I'm not going to show all of it because it was a struggle, but I just left in this part so you can see I was really going at it in an inefficient way. Now, how I would approach that would obviously be different now. I don't have Maya right now at the time of recording, so I can't quite show you, so I'll just skip to the end where I have that knot. And if you do happen to be following along, you can make your own interesting twist on this, twist. So you can make your own interesting take, on this twist that I have there in the strap. You don't have to follow exactly what I have. Please don't follow it because it was very, very inefficient. Okay, so now that we've finally wrapped up that knot and you have your own twist, I am going to add some colors, just some basic color, just to help us look at something a bit more nice and also to help me see, how it's looking. So I was just there flipping through the regular and the twisted version. And well, I think we all know what comes next, which is UVs. You guessed it. So remember that this is just a cube that was, a cuboid that was folded and rolled up. So the UVs should kind of be relatively simple. And when I say that, I mean, we should just be able to stretch them up. And as you can see, if you place the cut along the edges of the cube, you can lay them out relatively flat. So that's basically what I did there. And using the smooth view helped me see some vertices that were not merged. And that happens sometimes when you merge a bit too carelessly like I did. The merge threshold was not high enough. Anyway, I usually select the center edge loop, straighten that, and then straighten the UVs around it. Or just use straighten UVs because with a shape like this, sometimes it works that way. But as you can see, that's what I'm doing here. Selecting them in sections and straightening them first. Sometimes that is a lot more efficient. But for the for the edge, the spiral edge, I definitely did straighten. I tried to straighten the whole thing, and as you can see, it didn't work out perfectly. So I selected the top, straightened that, then selected the bottom, straightened that, and then worked my way up, down in a kind of a zigzag fashion. And yeah, that worked. It's straight enough for me. So I'm pretty much coming up on the end of these UVs. We're going to move on in a second, but I just wanted to put another material on the edge. I don't know if you remember the reference, but some yoga mats, not all, have like a slightly different material, and that's because that's the open cut part of the foam, because it's just a big slab of foam, right? So we're UVing the straps again. Hard surface modeling, you know the drill. Make a seam where the audience won't see it, ideally, or where it naturally is manufactured to have a seam. Cut it there, straighten it out. In this case, I do have a knot. So how do we approach that? Well, you straighten out the straight parts, and then you cut that part off and, try to get that as straight as you can. Then attach it. So that's basically what I'm doing and making sure it's the right size. Straightening them separately and then attaching them after. Honestly, that works out for me a lot more often than you would think. It's a very, very consistent technique. And the other part of the strap is pretty straightforward. I don't think that needs any explanation. And I'm just cleaning up the scene here. And I was going to edit the yoga mat just a little bit to add more character, but I think I'm going to create another variation of the mat. Since we have two straps, we can create two variations, right? So I'm just making sure this is in the center, the origin of the world. Especially when you want to export something, you want to make sure everything has no transformations, no links to any curves or anything like that, and they're all centered. So after I've done that, I've made sure that's all good. I'm going to duplicate it and add the other strap, and then make sure the UVs for that strap are also done because we didn't do those yet. So I'm gonna start out those UVs, and after we finish that, let me just finish that up there, straighten them, make sure they're good. Usual drill. After that is done, I'm gonna add some variation to this version of the this alternate yoga mat. And you can see that I rotated the strap so that it'll be obviously different, but I'm still going to manually adjust the strap itself. Now, soft select is your friend. It's definitely going to help you get more organic results than just moving vertices one by one. For some reason, I left the UV window open. Like, I don't understand. But as you can see here, I'm going in without soft selection, with soft selection. It just depends on the area that you're trying to edit. But all in all, I'm making the variation to the strap, and I think I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It looks pretty organic. Just make sure to add variation in more than one dimension, because that's more realistic. So I'm making sure it's all in the origin, checking it between both versions, and I've decided to also vary the areas where it is offset, just like the other one, adding little soft interactions with the yoga mat, making it not a perfect spiral, not a perfect circle. These little touches go such a long way. Like, it's something you feel, not necessarily that you see. So now I'm happy. Now I can export that and bring it in to Unreal. So we're in Unreal, and yeah, we're just going to import the two variations of the yoga mat. And here I am sizing it up with the character in Unreal, the mannequin. And I think we did a great job. It looks just about right. Maybe a little bit small, but that's not the end of the world. Yeah, so we're moving on, and we're placing the yoga mat in the places where we had the blockout, and you can see how comically large the blockout was yet again. So I'm also looking at the mat in some of the camera angles. Didn't like it there. I'm gonna try it in this angle and see if I like it here. And I kind of do. So I'm gonna explore this angle with the kettlebell. And this is some of the footage that I would have done before in the other in the kettlebell video. So that should make complete sense now if you watch that video. But yeah, so I'm just aligning it, trying to get a good composition, a natural looking layout. You know, it's posed, yes, but you still want to show each side of the model and have it look interesting. I kind of moved on. I was looking at a reference image that was kind of like a top-down view, and I liked it. It looked kind of cool, kind of artistic, and I was trying to see if I could repeat that or have my own take on it. As you can see there, again, I wasn't feeling it, so I created a new angle. I didn't use any of the existing ones. I copied the camera and said, you know what, the location we blocked out by the window, I kind of like that. So I edited the camera that I copied and give it a 105 millimeter focal length. In retrospect, maybe I could have done 135 or 85. Anyway, sorry, photography. So I'm now going to set dress this shot. I like the light, the angle of the light. It is very interesting. You can see the shine on the top of the yoga mats, which also accentuates the variation that we put in Maya. Now, if that was perfectly flat, it wouldn't look as interesting, right? And I switched to this view mode so that I can see when the yoga mat interacts with the ground a bit easier without all of the distracting lighting and shadows. And sometimes doing this really helps you place stuff and understand if things are touching or not. It really helps. So I just continue to set dress, and keep in mind, I'm trying to use both versions of the yoga mat here. Okay. Don't do it perfectly, but you should be trying to use both versions and try to rotate so that you can see all different sides of the mat. So I'm changing the lighting, just seeing if, how bright, how dark, warm, cool, changing some stuff, seeing how it works, the intensity, little bit of chromatic aberration, just a little bit, making sure I add some bloom just to give it that like warm, cozy feel. And honestly, I'm really just playing with some of the post effects and in-camera effects to get something that I want. I'm trying not to get carried away, but sometimes sometimes it's a bit hard. But I think I'm pretty happy with the overall lighting. Like that shine at the top, that's critical, especially if it's a warm light. The cool light wasn't working for me, so I think that warm light is what I was chasing. So the lighting we have right now is more or less what the final result will be. And I'm making a alternate color for the yoga mats as well, so that they can add even more contrast to the shot. And yes, the colors aren't vastly different from the outer and the inner foam, but that's something we can change later. It's subtle, but it's there. And now that we have a different color, we have places for our eyes to go, like all over this scene, and it's fun and it's nice. So yes, as you can see, I'm very happy. So I'm adjusting the composition just to get a better angle. Make sure it's in one of the thirds, the rightmost, like where the light is shining and hitting the top of those yoga mats rather. And I am pleased. I am very happy with this scene. So I'm just gonna, tweak some of the settings and then put in the foam rollers. These, in the end, I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on these because these are kind of a background-ish kind of thing. So we'll figure that out later. But there's something to kind of frame the yoga mats by having a dark color behind them. It will make them pop out just a little bit more. But when the texture goes on, it will look a lot better and be more interesting. But for now, we're just gonna put on that material, and you can see this is a corner where you can do those kind of exercises, right? All the stuff you need is there for that. The plane here is just to set the focusing, and here's the final shot. Here is the final shot. A lot has changed, as you can see. Later in the series, I will be going over the window corner, and I did add a HDRI in the background. Well, it was just a picture actually, not technically HDRI. But as you can see, I worked on the lighting a little bit more. The window casts a shadow on that highlight at the top of the yoga mats to add even more interest, because some of it is in shadow, some of it is not. I might go back at this at some point to give it a little bit more light. It is nice, it is subtle, but I do want to show off the texture. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If the purpose is to show off the model, or sometimes the texture, or both, then you should be doing everything you can to do that. Like, if that's the point, make sure it's the focus of the shot. Composition wise, I'm still very happy with this. I did remove the foam rollers, but who knows, I might put them back because the floor is kind of a little bit plain in that side. But all in all, very good. I'm very happy with this, at least for now. For a scene that doesn't have any textures, this looks great. And with that, I will close out the video. So thanks as always for watching, and for those of you who stayed through the entire series up to this point, thank you extra. It took quite a lot for me to make this series. It's not finished, don't worry. I do have just 2 more videos to go for the modeling side. But I just want to thank you, and definitely please leave a comment. I feel like I rambled a few times. I would like to know if it was as bad as I thought, or if it wasn't that bad and the video was fine. I like to know all of these things so I can get better. And if you have nothing to say, then I guess you could just drop a like. So I will see you in the next one. Respect. Protect.